not just for production in Ghana, but also exporting. Because once we are sufficient, why? We can't keep everything here with export. We've complained about how, we have to import, but that's just because we are not sufficient. And for those countries that are sufficient, they are, exporting to us, something we can also do. So this morning, we're joined by Alexander Dajawa, who is Director Projects Ghana Export Promotion Authority, and Davis Nakobo, who is President of the Federation of Associations of Ghanaian Exporters. Kujo.
Yes, and we are talking about Agric. This conversation, as you've mentioned earlier, is very important because there's a lot to do in this particular space. Opportunities lost, opportunities we can capitalize on. And this morning we are talking to two people who have been working in this particular space. Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Good morning. We are fine.
We are fine, thank you.
Davis, it's good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too.
The last time we had you on this network, we were talking about the U.S. tariffs and the impact on Ghana's Agric and job creation and all those things. Post that time, you've been looking at what is happening in the space. Are we out of the woods, or there's still more work to be done in that particular regard?
Yeah, thank you very much. And let me take this opportunity to say good morning to your cherished listeners. For me, I said it, and I'll say it again, that the U.S. 10% tariffs is even a blessing in disguise for us to be able to mobilize ourselves, refocus, redirect, and see how we retool agriculture and also export, i.e. looking at alternate markets and other things, and also develop the aftermarket. So I think that for me, if you ask me, what I'll say is it's rather going well than it is, because why should we allow the Western countries to be our export destination points? I mean, it is not right. Whereas we have 3.4 trillion, dollar GDP in after, where if we win tapping just about some 10 million, what is our GDP as a country? So if we're able to tap into that after space, I think that will be more than better. So for me, yes, the likes of cocoa, of course, if you want to go on this tariff 10%, then what is going to happen is then they are going to shift the 10% to the consumer, because in any case, America doesn't produce cocoa, so that they can compete. We definitely have to sell our cocoa. You understand me? But the rest of the things, I think that we should be able to find another way to raise.
But Davis, this after conversation that you've started, when you talk to people in the industry, for example, about trading within Africa, there are tea importers here in this country who are importing tea from Kenya, and the tea has to go to Europe before it comes down here.
Could you understand? And
there are people who are even exporting stuff just to Nigeria. If they can't do it via trucks and it has to go via sea, it has to go to Europe and do. Is the aftermarket really a market that we can explore?
It is, because for me, Rome wasn't built in a day, and that's the more reason why we should look at our infrastructure. I'm happy you rightly said it. I know, and I'm happy GEPA is here. GEPA, they have what they call the trade house now established in Kenya, and I think that they have to do more in other regions. But then it takes 60 days for us to get our things there. It goes all the way to Europe and descend. You understand me?
Yeah, but Davis, are we not, when you say Rome was not built in a day, are we not making excuses instead of getting to work? We've been talking about after for some time now. By now, and we just didn't start with after, we planned for its implementation. So shouldn't that have been factored in, dealt with? We move on.
That has been a conversation, and if you listen to me a few days back, I was one of the people who was criticizing them, that I think that they were rather doing a lot of attractee with a lot of meetings than going on the real work. But having said that, I think something should start now, and that's why I said that Rome wasn't built in a day. So let's put us together. Maybe they thought that because we had other markets, so they were not really fascinated with our own regional market. So now that we've seen the tariffs coming, we don't know when tomorrow they'll say don't even bring things at all. So it means that we need to start developing it now. We should go back and bring all the players together and see how, it should be action. As against years where they were just doing meetings and other things. I think one of their major frustrations I heard, because I met a couple of them, and they were also talking about, I think, the country's contribution. You understand? Because they even started with one currency, and it didn't work. And if you have the francophone countries within a setup where they are controlled by colonial masters, it will be extremely difficult for them to say, look, we are dropping our CFA, we are dropping and move into their new currency. But I think that by and large, something should happen, and this is the time. And that's the more reason why I said that, look, for me, the 10% tariffs is a blessing in disguise. I know the likes of Bangladesh, where Pong comes from, what's the name of it? All those countries,
Sri Lanka
and co, they have over 30-something%. So, and they are into garments. So their interest is to rather move to Ghana to do it here, to create jobs and also
get the 10%.
Get the 10%.
Okay.
Because they were not under after. You know, we were under after, so we were enjoying after before they give us now 10%. So they were not enjoying
you mean Agua?
Agua.
Yeah.
They were not enjoying Agua. So it means they had already 34% hanging plus the 35%.
So this whole 10% actually is also good if we are strategic. For countries that are getting higher tariffs, if their businesses set up here, they'll enjoy our 10% tariff. And it means that we will industrialize better and create more opportunities.
Of course, yes.
Okay. This is the Super Morning Show. It's coming up to 9. We are talking about the Agric space, the export space. And you have Davis Nakobo, President of the Federation of Associations of Ghanaian Exporters. He's also a former National Best Farmer, 2009 National Best Farmer. A title Winston and I are eyeing in the next 10 years.
Yes.
We will share that title.
It shall come
First
to
time
pass.
two people have become national
joint
winners. When we get a tractor, I'll drive it 3 days. You drive it 3 days. And we have Mr. Alexander Dazoa from the Ghana Export Promotion Authority. Now, let me come to you, Alex. Where does GEPA sit when it comes to Agric and the agribusiness space in Ghana? What is GEPA and what do you do in this space?
Well, we first of all, thank you for the invitation. And I am appearing on behalf of my CEO, Francis Kojo Kwaten Arthur, who should have been here. But due to an emergency, he couldn't make it, so he asked me to represent him. And GEPA, I'm sure most of your listeners would know already that we are a national agency for set up to promote and develop Ghana's exports under the Ministry of Trade. And for export, we have categorization of products. We have the agribusiness or agricultural produce, and then value-added agricultural manufactured products. And then we have also the handicrafts and then other products. So the agri or agricultural products are very, very key to Ghana's development because we are an agrarian country. Our mainstay is agriculture. That's where we grow from. And every country, starts from the agricultural base before it moves into other processing and manufacturing. So it's a very, very important sector, which we have concentrated on for God knows how many years. And it's a significant contributor to our export earnings. And so for the agricultural sector, we have various produce. We have the tree crops, and then we have the horticulture. In the horticulture, we have essentially what we call the fruits and vegetables, which is also very key. And Ghana is one of the leading exporters of horticultural products. So we are in there. We support the Ministry of Agric to ensure, because the ministry's mandate is to actually help to produce enough food and enough for exports. And as an export agency, our mandate is to promote exports. So we work in tandem with the Ministry of Agriculture and other agencies related to this, and also the associations, to ensure that our agricultural base develops faster so we can have products in large quantities and in the quality required to be able to export. First of all, we satisfy domestic demand because, again, the horticulture sector is a key driver of domestic production. If you go to the markets, always our pineapples are there, our mangoes are there. We have our papaya, or what we call the pawpaw.
No, we don't have mango. So
mango. He is the guru in mango. So
I
David
should
will
ask
tell
him
you.
that question later.
Ask him about that.
Okay.
I'm sure they are doing so well there.
Yeah.
The only challenge is some issues about pests and diseases. Once we are overcome that, the plantations are there. We have enough to feed the whole of Africa in terms of agricultural export. So I'm saying that it's a very key sector in Ghana, and we are working to develop it further. You would have also heard that we are big time now in the coconut industry, supporting farmers to expand acreages because of the demand. The trend is increasingly becoming so significant. So we are in there, even though we don't go into primary production because it's somebody else's mandate. We support the ministry to ensure that we have enough for the domestic market and also for export.
So you basically look at the non-traditional export space.
Yes.
Crafts, tree crops, horticulture,
garments,
Mm-hmm.
pharmaceuticals. You mentioned them, all the sectors, apart from the traditional crops we have. That is the traditional exports: gold, timber, cocoa beans, cocoa beans. But once it's processed into powder, cake, butter, and all that is in our space.
Yes, and crude oil is also not part of, because it's non-traditional.
It's non-traditional.
Okay.
That is downstream, not upstream.
How are we doing with our exports when it comes to the non-traditional? The last time I read a report from GEPA, for example, it showed that a product like cashew is getting us a lot of money.
Yeah, it still is.
Stuff like yam are getting us a lot of money.
It still are.
How are we doing? What is the opportunity? If somebody is listening right now, what are some of the key commodities that are in demand globally that people are sourcing from Ghana we can all invest in?
Yeah, you've mentioned them. Cashew is the leading agricultural export. Cashew, both processed and in shell. It gives us approximately $300 million annually, which is huge. And then the yam, of course, is also critical. Then the horticulturals, they also give us a lot. And then we also have the shea, particularly the value-added shea butter, and then the cosmetic area. Those are the big drivers of our non-traditional exports.
So you said cashew gives us about 300 million.
Yes.
We're also told that we import about, let's say, 300 million in sugar. So cashew actually balances the sugar exports. So if you produce more, it will take another commodity off.
And more so, if we do more value addition to have the final products packaged well and exported, it will be very wonderful. Because I just returned from Japan. When I went to the duty-free area, we have the macadamia. Macadamia, competes with cashew. Macadamia and a few other nuts, almond and all, packaged beautifully. And it's also, when I looked at the price, I nearly couldn't even buy, but I just had to buy a few, packets for the family. So if we do same and we are able to package well, to triple the revenues we get from cashew.
I'm going to move to Davis to talk about feed, but when I come back to you, GEPA has been working for years in the space. So you've worked with a lot of SMEs and big businesses. Tell us about the challenges you've identified in the space and how we can solve them to drive national development. So when I come back to you, I'll take that.
Thank you.
But Davis, tell us about the Federation of Associations of Ghanaian Exporters. Who are you and what are you doing to ensure we produce food all year round to feed us and also for export?
So thank you very much. So FAGE, the full name of FAGE is Federation of Associations of Ghanaian Exporters. We've been there for the past 30 years. It was the whole idea was meted between Ministry of Trade and USAID years back for them to establish FAGE. We have 22 member associations and 45 corporate members. And under the 22 member associations, mango alone have over 25. Yam, 6. Vegetables a lot.
So you have a mango association under FAGE?
Yes. So we have the mango, the national under FAGE. You have the yam, you have coconut, you have vegetables. That's vegetable. You have VPEC and Gavex, and then you have the papaya and a lot. We also have some garments and all these people under FAGE. Our main aim is to be able to stimulate export through capacity building trade shows. Arranging for financing, cheap, affordable financing, and also some B2B and open markets for our members, something we've done pretty well for the past years. If you look at just recently, Fruit Logistica, we got a deal over $200 million, a 3-day fair to over $200 million. So that tells you we are doing extremely well. One will ask, what's the difference? You see, when you talk about export, you couldn't do export without the production itself. So the production ecosystem is not neglected when it comes to the export space. And that's the more reason why we have the producers being part of the exporters, because the issue here is you also need them to produce to meet the market. I mean, the SPS issues, that's phytosanitary and other things, so certification and the market trends, the market demands. So there's a need for the two, both the exporters and the producers, to come together to be under one umbrella. That's exactly what we've done. We also have exporters who are producers like me. I'm an exporter, but I'm a producer. You understand me? I'm into mangoes. I have one of the biggest plantations. So I'm one of the.
How big is it?
My plantations are big. I mean, when you go to the north alone, in combined, I have 3,000 acres, both Dabuya and Navrongo. There's so many, I have 1,000 plus. So it's big.
I'm asking how big is it because Winston, we saw the video last week on Facebook of a Brazilian growing 28,000 acres of cocoa.
Yeah.
And people are saying that Brazil is going to take the cocoa market from us. So I'm looking for a big.
That's true. But because here we don't really encourage plantations, because we've done the smallholder farming for years, which is good. But then I think that, and that's where faith and the commercial farmers come to do what we call the push-pull system. The nucleus farmer, then the smaller holder will be there, where there will be support trickling down really well to the smaller holder. And that's the more reason why some of us felt that the current, how do you call it, programs within the agri space should include the association. Because there's something a lot of people don't know, because just a 1% growth in agriculture gives you exponential growth of between 5 to 6% on industry and service. You understand? So that tells you that it is something that we really need to look into and make sure we invest. So we have to be intentional as a country. You understand? And I want to use that word, intentional as a country, to invest in agriculture, not putting small money somewhere and a whole lot. Because my biggest challenge, and I've been saying that government has the biggest pest, and until they spend, the private sector can never be viable. Do you understand me? Because if you are competing with somebody from Brazil who is exporting same things to the same destination and enjoy 2.5% interest rate, 5% interest rate, with how do you call it? Their tariffs being subsidized, and I'm doing 35. I think it's neither here nor there. Somebody will talk about other banks doing MasterCard. MasterCard, what is their ceiling? Is MasterCard able to give me $100 million? Is MasterCard be able to give the commercial farmer $10 million? The answer here is no. So that's the more reason why we really need to look into and redirect most of the
In fact, you've started getting into our next question, something Winston and I had been discussing seriously. What really is the problem with Agric in Ghana? Because consistently, since independence, we've had the Ghana Sugar Project, Ghana whatever project, we've come all the way, Agric restructuring, we've done recently Planting for Food and Jobs 1, Planting for Food and Jobs 2. Now the new government says Feed Ghana.
Feed Ghana, yeah.
We've spent so much money on Agric, so many projects, so many branding, so much branding done in the space, but we still don't seem to be able to feed Ghana, from rice to tomatoes to key things we need to feed the population. We're unable to meet the targets. From where you stand, what is wrong with the system and what must be fixed to enable us grow enough to feed Ghana and have enough to export to make the forex we are looking for?
For me, I think that the government should rather encourage the private sector to take Agric serious instead of them investing in it. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because, and I'm happy you've mentioned a couple of programs. These are all good programs. See, I wouldn't sit here to criticize any. But then it depends on the way it's done. You understand? Because if you do fertilizer subsidy and maybe the fertilizer doesn't get to the right people, it becomes a problem. I think it becomes a problem. And that is the more reason why I think that the associations are not just there as in books or with the name. They need to involve them in most of this, because some could not be even fertilizer. It could be irrigation. You understand? It could be technical extension services. It could be maybe marketing issues. You know, it could be aggregation issues, and these are some of the things. Availability of land. So these are some of the things we need to sit and really look into. I know that government comes with their own manifesto. They also try to engage, but there should be a proper stakeholder engagement on agriculture, and let's see what we've done wrong and where we want to move to. I think when we do that, we'll see the growth. You understand? We'll see the growth. I know the current government is doing a fantastic idea. You understand me? But I still think that we should have a stakeholder engagement, irrespective of them starting. It's important we have stakeholder engagement for us to be able to judge and see where we want to go to, where, because the demand is up, because the issue is, and I heard a lot of people say, no, we should do ABC, because, for instance, we are importing tomato. Is it not right for us to be able to change the dynamics to produce our own tomato? And which varieties are good for the country? And where are the geographical locations for us to grow these tomatoes? You understand me? Onion, the same thing. These are the discussions we need to have, and who should be the players, so that we don't just throw money. You understand me? If for export, what are the things that the demand? Where is the market? What are the demands? Everything, is it value added? Yes. So which areas are we supposed to drive it? These are the stakeholder meetings we need to have, and make sure that we put money in. You know, we had a call forum just about 2 weeks ago. I was very happy when I went there. My only disappointment was we didn't bring the governor, because the same week the governor pegged the base rate at 28%. Meanwhile, we had all the banks there who want to lend
to the industry. But
at what rate are they going to lend? At what rate are they going to lend? So it was important for us to include the regulator to say that, look, with all these things I'm hearing, it is important for us to have a U-turn and see what we can do. So if it's Agric, there should be a special purpose vehicle to drive Agric, as far as funding is concerned. So are we able to do single digit to do that? If it's export, there should be special purpose vehicle to be able to do that. We are want to invest in our poultry. There should be special purpose vehicle to do that for us to be able to quickly move from our current state to another state. You understand me? So I felt that the quoting was extremely good, but the regulator was missing. And I'm happy. I'm sure the chief of staff is listening.
You think well, the BOG governor should have been there.
So there should be another
to industry and stakeholders.
Exactly.
And understand the needs properly.
Needs it properly. You know, so you don't just pay 28% base rate. So it means anybody who is going to borrow will borrow 35. You understand? 32. If you are lucky, 32. And like I said, you hear some of the banks talking about I'm doing 10% on what? MasterCard. Is MasterCard able to give a commercial farmer $10 million, $5 million, $1 million? These are the questions.
So, what was the interest rate typically if you farmers go out there to the bank?
35%. It's the same thing. Commerce. I mean, the same.
35%.
It's the same interest rate you get when you're good. It's the same percentage a farmer gets.
Please permit me to put you on the spot a little bit. You are one of the biggest mango farmers in the country. Yeah. What's your return on investment on planting, say, an acre of mango?
My return on investment is just about 40%.
So if you take a loan at 35%, you're actually getting some small money. You are working for the bank.
I'm working for the bank. You don't even get anything, because if your return on investment is about 40%, you are paying 35%. What about the rest of the things? So it means that you don't get anything.
So without cheaper financing, there is no way we can grow in this particular
Exactly
space.
My case, and this is the conversation I'm having this morning. That without cheaper financing, there's no way government will come out with a lot of programs, but there's no way we can make it in agriculture.
Let's hold on for now and go for a break. When we return, I would want you to tell us 5 things we must do as a country to turn around our fortunes when it comes to agriculture. With horticulture leading that change. And Mr. Alexander Dazowa, when we come back, you also tell us the experiences you've had enabling businesses to grow in Agric, the challenges and how you solve them, and new ideas and new ways of doing things. This is the Super Morning Show. We are talking Agric this morning. Our guests are Davis Kobo, President of the Federation of Associations of Ghanaian Exporters, is the umbrella body for 22 associations in Agric. So everything you eat, they have a say in it, and he is the president. And Mr. Alexander Dazowa is the Director Projects Ghana Export Promotion Authority. Is that agency that was set up to look at our space and see how we grow it to create capacity to export and get more forex to run the country. We are going for a quick break. You can send us your messages on WhatsApp 055 1111 997. When we come back, we'll get more from our guest here in the studio. Stay with us. Yes, so we are talking Agric, and we have the Director of Projects of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority and a former National Best Farmer in the studio. Now, Davis, when I come to you, I want you to give us the 5 things you think if we did them now and right, it will consolidate our fundamentals for us to do better in Agric. But now let me come to you, Alex. So, with your experiences, what lessons have you learned about the space and the challenges that agribusinesses face, and how do you fix them for them?
Well, as Mr. Kobo has described it, it's a very it's a sector that has a lot of potential. The opportunities are there clearly, and everything agriculture from Ghana in terms of produce and products, is highly demanded in the market. Ghanaian products or produce from agriculture are premium, and the market loves it. Our biggest market is the EU, and they love our products. So we've been doing quite well, but there's room for improvement. A lot of improvement has to be done there because there are a number of challenges. He mentioned one of the key ones, which is has to do with cost of capital. It's very critical because if you want to scale up, most of our companies still remain quite small because they are unable to recapitalize enough and raise capital to reinvest in the business to grow, because the cost of capital is very high, as he has already explained. The challenges there are quite numerous, and it's a national challenge.
Yes.
Really. A lot has to be done about it in order to bring the cost of capital down.
I'm sure you get to hear a lot about the land challenges when you go
around to. Yes, the land banks are also a major challenge, particularly for pineapple that our sister mentioned, and the vegetables, because they do very well in some geographical locations, particularly in the eastern and central regions. But right now, there's a lot of issues with access to the lands. And even those who have the lands already, which they have purchased some 20 years ago, 600 acres, 1,000 acres, they are facing threats because real estate wants to come and encroach on that, and then they are being forced to release the lands back to the owners to resell to real estate developers.
So real estate is taking over our Agric land?
Taking over most of our lands, and also sun winning, because hitherto, in maybe some 10 years ago, there were very rich lands in the Gomoa and the central regions where people were farming and doing very well. Suddenly, because of population growth and the need for, real estate, and then the enticements and inducements that come along with it, the landowners who had sold these lands to the farmers suddenly realized that they could make more money, and so they are threatening these guys, sometimes with even land guards and threats of even using guns and all that. So most of these guys are forced to relinquish the lands, and which are then resold to real estate. And you see that large tracts of lands are they are fenced. Nothing is happening there, but you cannot go and do anything there. So this availability of land banks is a major challenge in the sector. But we still also have quality issues, standard issues to deal with. Global, climatic changes have also brought along new diseases and pests in the agricultural sector, which is making it difficult to control. And so that is a major challenge. And you also know that we don't have enough extension services to reach out to all the farmers to know how to deal with these. So that is also posing a major challenge.
So land, capital,
pests and diseases,
and technical expertise,
and also issues about infrastructure. The guy mentioned irrigation, which is a major factor also, because the Ghanaian agriculture is rain-fed.
Yeah.
And if the rains don't come, then suddenly unfortunately you can't do much. But to do commercial farming, you need irrigation schemes, either small or large, to assist you. And he has already brought out the issues about importing. And we don't have those equipment here. We need to import them. And oftentimes the import duties are quite high on them. Although, in principle, if the equipment are destined for agricultural production, you may get a refund, a rebate on those. But the challenges of getting access to that is also a major issue. So The challenges are quite multiple, but that doesn't mean that nothing is happening. In fact, the Kwewu Business Forum, for example, is one of the major, I think, initiatives that we need to keep, coming up, so that there could be always some interaction between the producers and exporters and the banks. The banks are willing. Most of them now have export desks set up, and they are willing. You can see clearly that they now understand the need for investments in the export sector, but they are also challenged because of these issues about
So if you want money for
the
a new
base rates
project,
and all that, you see, so there's very little room for them also to maneuver. All right, and then they also have these issues about non-performing loans they have to deal with. So
Mr.
when you
Dajawa,
add all this to it, it makes it difficult.
is that not why, for people like you who've identified these problems, you could be suggesting to government that instead of partisanship financial schemes like MASLOG and NEIP, these funds be provided to banks
Exactly.
that would lend at lower rates?
I think this comes back to what David said.
Yeah,
that we need an SPV.
Yeah,
to-
specially designed for such
purpose
purposes.
vehicle.
And there are conversations going on around that already. Because why was Development Bank Ghana set up? It was set up particularly to come in as a cushion for exporters and to lend to banks that they can only lend to these farmers and the exporters and all that at concessionary rates. And they have done quite a bit in that, but it's not also enough. A lot still needs to be done. All right. So that conversation has been ongoing for a while. It's not like the banks don't know. They know they need to do that, but then the dynamics of the economy also come into play.
Yeah.
And most of these are not in the hands neither of the Ministry of Trade, Ministry of Agric. It's essentially the Ministry of Finance and the Bank of Ghana issues, which Mr. Davis Kobo has alluded to. So we have to rethink how we support agriculture and export production, particularly in Ghana. So if we could design schemes with affordable rates, really concessionary, not the ones we talk about concessionary at 20%. That's not concessionary.
Yeah.
At 5% or less. That is when we can break even and make more money.
So if you do something like rice, your return on investment could be just about 18-20%.
20%.
So if you take a loan at 35%,
how are you going? You are already
you're at
running
negative
a loss.
already.
Exactly.
Before
exactly.
if you do.
So those are the real issues on the ground. Really.
Anyway, so
but
Davis,
it doesn't mean that we are not doing advocacy. GEPA has always been doing advocacy. Yeah. You hear about seminars that we run where we invite, the institutions to come and explain the issues to them. So we do a lot of these. Yeah. But now that we're starting, we are challenged.
In fact, talking about seminars, GEPA and FAGE are putting together the second Ghana Horticulture Expo.
Exactly.
The first one was last year. Yes. The second one is this year. I want you to tell us about the Horticulture Expo. But Davis, can you give us some, I asked you a question earlier, some like maybe 2, 3, 4 things that if we did immediately, it would change the face of agriculture in the country and make us food sufficient and give us enough to export.
Okay, so first and foremost, I will talk about our capital. Our funding, we can't do with this 35%, so there should be a special purpose vehicle towards Agric. When I talk about Agric, the whole Agric value chain, so agribusiness in general. So it doesn't matter whether it's export, poultry, and the like. So I also want us to see the market penetration and also infrastructure, because we have a lot of infrastructure deficit when we talk about this, and it's very important. Then also land.
So when you talk about infrastructure, roads,
cold
chain, exactly,
processing,
logistics,
warehousing is all part of the infrastructure.
Yes. Because if you look, we need to do proper market penetration. So, for instance, if we're able to get markets elsewhere, we went to food logistics, we have $200 million plus deal. Are we able to meet the answer here is big no, because we have a lot of deficit in infrastructure, deficit in logistics, a lot. So before the produce itself.
Hold that thought. So we have orders of about $200 million from all sorts of countries who want our produce,
exactly.
our yam, our cassava, our pineapple, our mangoes,
coconuts.
But we don't have capacity to supply because we don't have the right infrastructure.
We don't have the right infrastructure, and also we the production itself. We have issues, and one will ask why. That's the more reason why I mentioned capital, because people just can't go to the bank and take 35% to produce something that their return on investment is just around 20%. I think you understand me. And also skill set. You see, we need to be able to train our youth to adapt to because the knowledge, that is one big thing. You could have money to do all you want to do, but then if you don't have the proper technical extension, it becomes an issue. So what happens is, from day one, you go into deficit. I think you understand what I mean. So these are some of the things I think we need to look at. And also a value addition. It's critical now that we don't export our produce raw, but then we add value. And you remember when we went to Food Logistica, we launched Horticulture Expo there, and I chose pineapple, sweet potato, mango, coconut, chilies, and yam. Yam because, you see, the yam flour, gluten free. So if we should be able to add value to our yam flour and we export, and it's hot cake everywhere, premium. I mean, President Trump, whether 10% or not, some they'll buy. You understand me? And our sweet potatoes, I mean, post-COVID, and also Ukraine-Russia war, flour is becoming an issue. So Ghana could be the hub of sweet potato flour, where we export, we add value and export. We have coconut
Ghana
oil.
is the largest exporter of yam in the world?
Yes. We second by Jamaica. We're doing $54 million. Jamaica is doing $52 million. Yes. So that tells you that, and this is even fresh. It's not value. We've not added value to it. So if we try to we add value to it for export, that will give us some premium money, and curtail the constant depreciation of our cedi against the major currencies, because that has been an issue, because we have been import dependent country, and until we scale up and become export driven country, it becomes still a problem. We'll end up getting our cedi to dollar for maybe 40 cedis, and maybe I'll be praying at a point that when I export my things, it should go to 40, then I change. Then when I finish, they should go to 5 or something. It's a strategy. So these are some of the things I think we need to look into, and that's the more reason why I'm talking about. It is about time government become very intentional. As a country, we have to be intentional about agri-business. And we on the private sector are doing our part. I mean, Faith, last year we had what we call the Horticulture Expo.
The Ghana Horticulture Expo.
The Ghana Horticulture Expo. This year we are going to have it again from 11th to on the 13th of June. We are expecting over 200 exhibitors and over 1,000 trade visitors. So that says we have people coming from the after regions. We also have, we've partnered through logistics. We have people coming from Germany. We have people coming from Italy. Italian embassy is also bringing other people in the whole. So all over the world, I mean, global fair, which is going to happen at the Accra International Conference Center. The whole essence is for us to be able to rebrand and promote what we have, because we have been attending fairs all these years. But I think every now and then we have certification issues. Today, I think people, the EU, the next day they bring another certification, so another layer to certification. And because they don't see where the things are coming from, they don't know how we are doing it. And I was privileged to host the EU ambassador at the Park House, and the ambassador for Germany, Hungary, Swiss, France, and when they came and they saw the way mangoes were harvested on the farm, the way we sent to the Park House and other things, they were surprised. They asked the question, is that how we do it always? And I say, yes. So I put it to them, like, look, this is the more reason why it's always important for us to be able to collaborate and show what we have and where the things are coming from, so that it limits the layer of certifications. Because for me, they increase the layer of certificates because they want to protect their space. I think you understand me. So these are some of the things we're also trying to do that, because we want to make sure that the youth go into agric and export, agribusiness and export. So we'll have a B2B sessions. I mean, 24-hour economy is going to be there live to tell people how to tap into their program. Ministry of Trade will be there. We are hoping to get His Excellency the President and most of the cabinet ministers around for the whole 3 days.
So this is the Ghana Horticulture Expo,
yes,
which is happening in June this year.
Yeah, June 11th to 13th.
You mentioned that Fage is partnering Fruit Logistica, which I believe is the biggest agric fair in the world.
Yes.
To have a Ghana Horticulture Expo to promote Ghanaian Agric to the rest of the world.
Exactly.
So you are going to have the expo. Aside the expo, what else would you be doing within that 3 days to drive the growth of the industry?
Okay, so let me take this opportunity to thank Ghana Export Promotion Authority, and I'm happy Mr. Tetabawa is here.
The CEO's
yes, CEO, yes, because they've kept faith with us for all these years. I mean, if you look at what they've done, it's by excellence, because we started this Horticulture Expo with them. Yeah. Aside that, we know we've been attending from logistics with them every year. And when we come back, they try to articulate our issues to make sure that we feed the market, because for them, they don't need anything from us. All they need to be able to feed the market to bring in, rake in the foreign exchange. Yeah. And they've done that pretty well. So this year, what we're trying to do is to, aside the exhibition itself, we have, how do you call it, seminars. We have seminars. We also have B2B. We have the banks who are coming in their numbers to also market their product and get people to buy into what they do in their various banks, and more.
Then also the input suppliers.
Input suppliers, key. They are there because you see, it's about time we cease and we stop these quack inputs, because it has also been one of our issues. Because when we don't get, for instance, you get if you are supposed to produce to maybe get a ton an acre, if you use the wrong input, you never get there.
So if you use the wrong seed,
that's what I'm saying. Chemicals. So it's more of the reason why we are also doing this, to bring in the right input dealers, and also make sure that they market the input. People have the right to come and ask questions. You buy the right and know where they are, and the whole lot. And also the value addition, where you get some processes. You also get a lot of people come. We have academia also coming to share their views. We have students from the various universities coming. We also have a lot of industry players coming to share their views and also teach people what to do and identify the market and tell them how to be able to get to the market.
So is this expo for industry people, or is for the average Ghanaian? For example, I'm home, I want to enter Agric. Would you say this is the platform for me to come and get my initiation into Agric?
Education.
This is the platform for you to come to get your initiation. I mean, because the issue here, the industry players, yes, they are already here. They are parts. But we are also inviting every Ghanaian. That's the more reason why we spoke about the trade visitors. And we said we are expecting over 1,000 trade visitors. For the exhibitors, it's just a little above 200. So I know people are rushing into catch a space. So I also encourage them to do that fast. They shouldn't wait till the last day.
How do people register for the Ghana Horticulture Expo? And for the general public, are they expected to pay a fee, or the fee is just...
Yes, so for the FAGE members, they are paying 2,000. The non-FAGE members are paying 3,000 per 3 by 3 square meter stand. And the foreigners are paying $300 for the same stand.
But if somebody is listening to us right now and wants to come to the expo, they can just walk into the conference center for the 3 days to be a part of it.
If you are not an exhibitor but the ordinary trade visitor, you walk in, you pay nothing. You walk in as a trade visitor.
Would there be experiential events? For example, if you have Ghana rice, Ghana's pineapple, Ghana's this, or people have the chance to sample the various produce across the spectrum?
Exactly what we did last year is what we are going to do this year too. We're going to do a lot of sampling, where vegetables, for instance, we're going to do a lot of cooking, different type of for people to sample. Rice, the same thing. The rice team are also coming, so they also do a lot of different varieties for you to sample. Yeah, we are also looking at having lunch for the CEOs, like we did last year, where we prepare made in Ghana produce. So from the rice to the sweet potatoes, yam and other things, to give some tickets out to some CEOs for them to come for lunch and to experience what made in Ghana food tastes like. We'll have the poultry sector also coming a lot, so varieties. I mean, and I expect all the multimedia company to bring everybody there too.
Yeah, you mentioned poultry. You didn't mention Winston's pork
the piggery. I mean, it's livestock. It's livestock in general. So once livestock in general,
whether you mention will come.
Livestock in general. Yes.
Last year I had mushroom kebab at the Horti
Right,
Expo,
yeah.
and it was really nice. So if I also want to go into trading of horticultural produce, when I come there, I can get producers who can supply me to sell, right?
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So how do people contact Phage to be a part of this? They go to your website, GhanaHortiExpo.com.
Yes.
They can have all the
And also
numbers.
the GEPA,
And
GEPA
website.
what's the GEPA website?
www.gepagana.org.
GEPAGhana.com. Who are your
.org.
partners for this?
ORG. Yes.
You've
ORG.
mentioned GEPA. Which other partners are you working with on?
So we're working with Fidelity Bank, we're working with SM Bank, we're working with Ghana Export Promotion Authority. We have a few other Agromonti and a few others.
Okay. Winston.
Yeah, I mean, quick question before we wrap it up. Jubris says, would you advise young people to get into Agric? Is it profitable as they make it sound, or ideally, how much for capital?
I think I'm one of the few people who have been saying always, when government comes and say, look, every youth to go into agriculture, I said, that's not the idea. The issue is you need to have passion and also be disciplined to be able to venture agriculture. It is one thing that can make or make. So that is one thing we need to look at. And you need to also have a role model, be mentorship. Because if you don't, you can start, but then how do you start it? And that has been the problem. And that's the more reason why I started this conversation by saying that let's have a stakeholder conversation about the whole entire agribusiness to let people understand before we move.
And I think that just a quick one, because I heard the Kobo story that he was a very young man who finished university and did I think engineering or something, and instead of going into his course of study, he decided to go to Agric. Why? Because he had a passion. And eventually he became the best
my father,
right.
who was a regional minister. I didn't meet my father. My father was the first regional commissioner. I didn't meet him when he was a commissioner. I met him when he was a father, making money. So I felt that's the only way you can make money.
I like that. He felt that was the only way you could make money. You can also feel same. You need mentorship. Don't think that mentorship is only about the corporate area. But in Agric also, you need people to help you.
Yes.
They would show you what to do.
And Winston, we are partnering Phage and GEPA for the Horti Expo. So we are carrying the whole of Ghana along to use Agric to turn our lives around. So we'll be giving you more on this on the Super Morning Show and our other platforms. Now, I'll read a final message and we'll say bye-bye to Davis and Alex. This one is from Jerry Boachidanko. He says, hi, Kojo, good to hear this conversation on Joy FM. The Ghana Stock Exchange wants to reach out to export associations on our capital raising solutions. So let us talk. So Ghana Stock Exchange, they have the alternative exchange and all that. And they want us to have the conversation. So
really it's a very pleasant news, because it's never come into the conversations how to utilize the stock market's capitalization to support agriculture, for example. It's a new area. I'm excited about it. I'll mention it to our CEO and follow up.
Great. Yeah. Thank you very much, Fred Dajawa, and also to you, Davis Nakobo, for joining us this morning. Here, Alexander Dajawa, who is Director Projects, Ghana Export Promotion Authority, and Davis Kabo. Hey, why do I keep saying Kabo? Kobo, who is President Federation of Associations of Ghanaian Exporters. You know, when you're used to the political names, that's what you
Anthony Kabo.
Anyway, thank you.